All right, Eric Abbey here with Arbitrage Q&A. It's noon Central Standard Time, and we are excited to take your questions and hopefully give some answers in regarding to arbitrage. So I see a few people, Juan, GPET, Extortion Watchers, welcome aboard. Let me know that you can see me and that you can hear me, and we'll get started in just a minute here. All right, Salima says that you can see and hear me, and I want to know that that is continuing to be so. Just had a little technical glitch here. It said there was an error, but as long as you can see and hear me, then we're just going to keep rolling. Maurice, hello. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining me. I'm by myself today. Jalen, I see you. Hey, Kyle, welcome. I'm thrilled that you guys are joining us, thrilled that you're with us each week. My name is Eric Abbey. Seth Kneep has been kind to share his channel with me, and so I'm here noon Central Standard Time every Saturday when I can. I was out last week. I was out of the state and had some traveling to do, and so Alan was kind to step in for me, and I know that you guys had a good time with him. Miyazaki, I see you. Thanks for joining, guys. Sean Phelps, awesome. I'm glad you guys can hear me. I'm glad we're here together, and I want you to get the questions rolling when it comes to arbitrage. I have a couple of products I want to show you that we can analyze and take a look at, but really this is about your questions, and so I want to do those. If you're viewing for the first time, I want to ask you a question. If you knew that just by taking advantage of some discounts around you and the amazing Amazon marketplace, you could add margin to your budget, if you could make $250 a month or $500 a month and add that to your current budget, what would you do? And what would you think of that? Would you be excited to consider that being a possibility? This is kind of where I was at a little over 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I was looking at my budget. I had a good job that covered our budget. My wife was staying home with our 4 children, which is what we do by conviction. And I was really thankful that I had a good job and that we were paying all our bills, taking care of business, but we were renting and I couldn't buy a home. And that was just frustrating to me. I thought, how can I expand the margin of my budget so I have freedom to, for me, the first goal was pay down debt quickly. We were making our basic payments on debt, but that was it. We were just barely making that happen. And man, it was going to take us like 5 to 7 years to just get out of debt before I could even start saving. And that was troublesome to me. And so what I've discovered is that through arbitrage, which is simply finding items at a discounted rate in one marketplace and then turning around and selling them at a high rate in a different marketplace, and we're taking advantage of Amazon, which is an amazing marketplace, by the way. Who do you know that doesn't shop on Amazon in some capacity? And so we're just leveraging those 2 different markets in order to make profit in between. And that's how arbitrage works. And it's very simple. And I began to see that that was a possibility, especially because Amazon has something called FBA. And so you can have Amazon do fulfillment on all your orders. FBA simply stands for Fulfillment by Amazon. And so I started to realize that I could find these discounted products, send them into Amazon, and then Amazon did the majority of the work on my behalf. They warehouse all my items. When I make a sale, they pick the item off the shelf, they box it, they ship it, and then they handle any customer service. They respond to customer emails for the most part. They handle returns. And of course, they're promoting the product. They're marketing it, and everybody's turning to Amazon in order to buy products. And so I was really able to take this step by step and make it work. And it's not because I have a business degree. I don't. And it's not because I'm a rocket scientist. I'm far from it. But it's just because I started to put one foot in front of the other and figure out that this could work for anybody. And I really wanted margin in my budget. And I knew good excuse me, goodness, because of the online market, because of the internet and the phenomenon that we enjoy today called the internet, there's got to be a way to make some money and add some margin to my budget. And I wasn't looking to become a millionaire. I wasn't looking to even replace my full-time job. I've always worked full-time, and Amazon is really something that I can flex with, and I can put and tuck into all the nooks and crannies of my schedule. And so even though I'm busy with kids and I'm busy with a full-time job, I can really work the territory and take care of the business in a significant way. And I really liked that. And it helped me to take baby steps and to gain confidence and make more and more money. So I just started out by making $100 or $200 a month and thought that was fantastic because it enabled me to double down on my debt. And then slowly it became a little closer to $300 or $400 a month. And after a year, we were debt free. And I just thought, oh my goodness, what a cool thing. And so we celebrated that as a family. And then I saw that as my first goal checked off, and I started looking at what is the next goal. And here we are 5 years later, and I was able to buy our first house, and I've been able to make a mid-career change, and I'm really excited about that. So I see a couple questions that were even posted before we got started, which is way fun. Thanks, guys. And I want to answer G-Pet's question because I think it's a kind of a good place to start. And then I want to show you a couple products that we can analyze together. But he says, just going to get started by asking, what is the first place you would recommend that I look for items to purchase? So my answer to that is pretty simple. I would look at your sphere. So if you live here, I would look at all the stores that are in your town, retail stores, and I would go to those. And all you have to do is download the Amazon Seller Central app on your smartphone, and you can scan products by looking at the UPC code. You scan the UPC code, and then the app will show you whether or not that product is for sale on Amazon. And in addition, not only will it show you whether or not it's for sale, but if it's for sale on Amazon, it'll give you all kinds of data that can inform your decision about whether or not to purchase the product, whether or not it's what we call a quality product. In other words, a product that's going to sell quickly and make you money. Because what we don't want you to do is to run out and just buy products that you think might sell or that you like and you would buy, so you assume they're going to sell. Or we certainly don't want you approaching business with just wishful thinking, where you're saying, I'm going to buy some product and hope that it sells. In my mind, that's just bad business practice. It's not educated, and it's not making thoughtful, data-driven decisions. Amazon gives you a ton of data that enables you to make confident decisions on what will sell and what won't sell, how quickly an item will sell, or otherwise. And so GPET, the answer to your question is I would start with that sphere, and I would go to all those stores, and I would allow the Amazon Seller Central app to inform what products they had. And I would start with the clearance sections, if they're available, in those different stores. But you can be surprised sometimes and find good items to sell on Amazon that aren't in a clearance section. And then what I would do is I'd zoom out a little bit, and I'm only talking retail arbitrage right now, and I would look at what are neighboring towns, that have retail stores that I could do arbitrage in as well. And so I'd go into those stores, and I would do the same thing. I'd take my app, I'd go to a discount, a clearance end cap or something, take off an item, scan it, look at the data. The app is all that I've ever used on my phone for retail arbitrage is the Amazon Seller Central app, which is completely free. You do have to have an account. So in order to get started, you need to go create an Amazon Seller Central account. And it doesn't cost any money to create one. You have to show documentation. It takes a couple days to kind of work through that and get it set up. But once you do, you've got the app on your phone, and that's all you need to get all the data that will inform you whether or not to purchase. And so now you've got surrounding towns that you can go and do that with. Now, I haven't even mentioned online arbitrage. So for GPET, depending on where you live as an individual, nothing changes the fact that you can get on your computer, go to websites, and do the exact same thing. So you can shop clearance sections of websites, and all I do is I copy the title of the product and I paste it into at Amazon.com, and I see if the product's on Amazon. If it is, now you're doing a price comparison. And if it looks like your discounted product is going to be able to make money over and against what it's selling for on Amazon, then you just analyze the product a little bit by taking a look at the data, and we'll do that in a minute. So really, you can do that no matter where you are. You can be in an extremely rural setting, and you can still get online and shop for discounted products that you can sell on Amazon. And believe me, they're all over the place online. And this is good news for international sellers. So as a coach for Just One Dime, I'm coaching a new membership we have called Amazon Arbitrage Mastery. Feel free to check out that membership in the link down below. I'm a huge advocate for it because I've just seen how helpful it is to our members, and our members are having the same success and experience that I've been able to enjoy. But we have a ton of members who are not based in the United States. They're international members from all over the world, but they do online arbitrage at .com websites. So they're shopping on websites where they can order product and have it shipped to a United States location. And they take advantage of what's called a prep center, a place that will take in the product, prepare it for sale on Amazon, and then ship it to an Amazon fulfillment center. And they allow the prep center to do that. And now they're selling on Amazon.com, even though they might live in a completely different country. They set up an account and get a credit card that's all based in the US, and then they take care of business on Amazon. So that's two places that you can start. You can start online by shopping like that, and you can start at retail stores in your near vicinity. And that's a way to go. Juan Vargas, I also saw your question about shipping from China. And that really is an impossible question to ask because it depends. You can ship by air, by sea, and it depends on how big the items you're ordering are and what they weigh, and how many of them you're buying. But that's really a private label question. For the purposes of arbitrage, we're not looking to find a Chinese supplier and supply a large number of product. We're looking at retail stores, at discounted websites, and finding areas where we can buy a small quantity of a lot of different items and take advantage of Amazon.com and the market that way. So that's what we're doing in the world of arbitrage. Now, if you want to go wholesale, you can start looking more at suppliers and how you might be able to get, a larger quantity of a particular item from a supplier and sell that way. So there's a lot of different lanes on Amazon that you can sell in. There's private label, which Just One Dime has a great membership for. The link to that is below. There's wholesale. There's drop shipping, which we don't generally recommend, though some have made it successful. And then there's arbitrage. And what we're all about during this hour is arbitrage. It's what I enjoy doing. It's what's worked for me. And it's what we're promoting with the new Amazon Arbitrage Mastery membership. Now, I know there's a lot of other questions to get to, and I'm excited to get to those and keep them coming. But let me share my screen and let's analyze a couple products here. So I've got 3 picked out, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about how you can make data-driven decisions based on the information that Amazon gives you. So the first item you see here, and if you look down in the corner, I'm actually holding this in my hand. I've got it in a cardboard box here. It's a Nemco tomato slicer. It's a blade assembly that would go into the tomato slicer. It's not actually the entire tomato slicer. But if you look here, this I found online. So I was shopping online and I found this at an extremely discounted rate. I got this for $14.95. So I found this replacement for $14.95 and noticed that it matched exactly the Amazon listing here. So you can see right here, this description at the top matches exactly what I have in my hand. 566-1 is the number right there above my finger, and you see it right in the description. And you can verify that by looking at the picture. So the first thing you've got to do when you're doing arbitrage is make sure that the item matches the listing precisely. I have made mistakes before where I buy a product that doesn't match the listing, or I find out when I get home that I overlooked the fact that the listing was for a quantity of 2, a pair of the item, and I just bought one and thought I got a good deal because I just bought one. Now, what I have here is a tool that we highly recommend called Rev Seller, and it's embedded right in the Amazon webpage because I have it installed as a Chrome extension. And so this gives me all kinds of real-time data that you can find without Rev Seller, but this extension puts it all in one spot, which I really like. And you can see right here that the BSR is 148,763. Now, the BSR is the best seller rank, and this is the main piece of data that Amazon is going to feed you that enables you to know how this is going to sell and if it's a good selling item. Sometimes you'll scan items on your Amazon Seller Central app, and the item will be listed on Amazon, but where the BSR is supposed to appear on the app, it'll say NA, not applicable. And what that means is there is no BSR. There's no precedent for that item ever selling. Somebody created the listing, put it out on Amazon, but it never sold. And so there's no history of that product selling. With this tomato slicer blade, the fact that there's a BSR indicates that there's a history of this product selling. And if you think of BSR in golf terms, then you're on the right track. The lower, the better. Because if this BSR was 1, and there's a product out there in the tools and home improvement category that has a BSR of 1, it would be the #1 best seller in that category. So of all the items in the tools and home improvement category, this tomato slicer blade is the 148,000th one and change. And so we recommend that you find a BSR that's less than 2%. You can see Rev Seller gives you the percentages, which is really nice. And this is under 1%, which is an indication that it's going to be a quick selling item. Now, one thing that's cool that you can do is you can translate the BSR over to a website called FBA Toolkit, which is free for your use, and it will give you an indication as to how many of these will sell. So if we remember that the BSR of this product is 148,763, and we go to FBAtoolkit.com, we can find out how many of these are selling each day. So you need to scroll down until you find the category that we're looking for. So here's tools and home improvement, which matches the category exactly, tools and home improvement. And again, our BSR is 148,763. So we can type that in right here, 148,763, hit enter, and you can see right here, it tells us, whoops, get my highlight right. It tells us based on that BSR that 1 of these is selling every 2 days. And that's the 30-day average that they have from the past month. And so that's a really good indication that this is going to sell. I bought 3 of these because 3 were available. And at this rate, I would sell them in a week, is what this is telling me, if I have no competition. So even though that BSR sounds high, I mean, 148,000 can at first just sound like a large BSR. The category, tools and home improvement, is such a big category that still is under 1%. And as you can see by FBA Toolkit calculations, it's still going to sell pretty rapidly. So this is a good product. I jumped on this product, and especially because the price was so low. I don't know why I found this the way I did, but the fact that this was $14.95, I mean, look at that. The ROI is 237%. So I get consistent pushback as I do these Q&As that it's impossible to find items that are greater than 100% ROI. And week after week, I try to show you guys products that I find that fall into this category. So here I spent $15 for an item, which, you know, is finding it in a low market on a website. And then I turn around and I can sell this on Amazon at a significant profit. And I like Rev Seller because it does the calculations for you. So I've entered in $14.95 here. If I can sell it for $64.99, which is the going rate right now, then my profit would be $35.39. And this is taking FBA fees into consideration. So all the Amazon fees associated with needing it to be stored, picked off the shelf and packed. I mean, Amazon does that for you, but they charge you fees. And so you just need to take that into consideration when you're thinking about the price of the product. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just mention there's really 2 stats that are significant when you're analyzing a product. First is BSR, and that's going to give you a direct indication as to how well the item has been selling, whether or not there's precedent that it's been selling and how well. And that gives you confidence that it's going to sell in the future, and you can even predict how quickly it will sell in the future. So that's your first variable that you need to nail down. The second is price. So obviously, if you can sell something quickly, but you can't make any money on it, it's not a quality product that you want to sell. But in the case of this one, where I can sell a number of them relatively quickly, and my margin is so strong, this is what we would determine as a quality product, and we would sell it. And I'm hoping to make good money from it. So let me show you one more of these. Let's see, we'll do this one. I got a bunch here, but this is like a door handle, a latch for a door by Right Products. And so I found this at Home Depot. So this was doing retail arbitrage, and I was in the store, and I just took the barcode and scanned that with my app and saw that it was a high quality product. And I'll share my screen and tell you why I think this was an excellent product, and why it was worth jumping on as an opportunity. And then I'm going to go to your questions and let it be your time. So that one's right here. So you can see that, you know, again, first I'm making sure that this product matches exactly what I have, and I can see visually that it does. I can affirm that by just double checking the title, Right Products. It's the brand is a match. Everything's the same. It's satin nickel. So, you know, you just got to be careful. If you've got a different color in your hand, that's not going to work. And usually if you scan the barcode and it pops up, it's going to be accurate, but you just can't assume that the UPC code was put in perfectly. So, you know, the first thing I see in this one, and it's in the same category as the tomato slicer blade was, is the BSR is just phenomenal. That's a really, really low BSR. And so I know these are going to sell rapidly, 0.2% according to Rev Seller. And so straight away, this grabbed my attention because the BSR is so good. But if it cost me $20, which it didn't, but if it did, you know, you can see right away that after FBA fees, you know, even though you can sell it for $31, which is $10 more, that's all going to get eaten up by FBA fees, and you're only going to make $1. And so that wouldn't be a good product. I don't want to waste my time on a product that I can only make $1 or $2, especially if I have to invest $20 up front to buy the product. You know, that's why we're thinking about ROI. BSR is good, but now I want to think about ROI. What's my return on investment going to be? Well, for me, I found these for $8.99, and so to me it was a no-brainer because, again, I'm over 100% ROI. So with 138% ROI fixed in place and a BSR that low, you know, honestly, I'm going to buy everything they had. And they didn't have as many as I would have liked, but I bought everything off the shelf that they had, threw them in the shopping cart, and went to town. And, you know, a couple things that you want to make sure aren't a problem is you just want to make sure that this isn't an inflated price. And a nice way to do that, one more thing I'll mention to you, is to look at Keepa. So Rev Seller has a spot where you can open up a Keepa graph and look at this. And this basically tells you that over time, this has continued to be a good seller. Look at the rank is all 30, 40, 50,000, you know, pretty consistently. It gets as high as 74,000 there, but that's still a really good BSR. And the price is constant. Here it's even higher than it's selling for now, $38. And so this is just, it basically Keepa shows me that there's a history of this being a high quality product, the history of it selling at this price. So this price is a pretty firm, reasonable price. I can expect with confidence that this item is going to sell at $31 or maybe even more. And I know I'm going to make money if I can sell it. And the BSR tells me that I can sell it. One other thing to note is this is highlighted in a light orange color because Amazon is selling it. And you can see the third dot down, the orange dot says AMZ, Amazon. And at that time, at that point in history where I have the cursor, Amazon was selling it for $37.97. Now you might notice that right now the buy box is being won by somebody other than Amazon. So this is a third-party seller who's using FBA. And you might ask, how come Amazon doesn't have the buy box if they're selling it? And in the past, people have asked me, can I compete with Amazon? And the answer is absolutely. This guy's competing with Amazon. And if you scroll down, you can see Amazon is right here. And they're offering this product at $31.34. But because the third-party seller is offering it at a lower price, $31.03, Amazon is deferring to that seller and giving them the buy box. In other words, Amazon has set up some sort of algorithm so that they've decided the lowest that they'll go on this particular item is $31.34. So if you can go under that and still get a really good ROI, which I can, then you can compete with Amazon easily, and you can win the buy box, and you're in a good place to make money on this product. So, that's a quick overview of how you analyze product. And there's two main anchors that you want to hold on to: BSR and your ROI, your margin. And what I want you to see, especially if you are doing this for the first time, if you're thinking about getting started with arbitrage, you can make data-driven decisions, educated decisions that will allow you to sell with confidence. And so I know that this item is going to sell and make me money. I have a strong degree of confidence that because of the BSR, this will sell pretty quickly, and I'm pretty sure that it will sell. And because of how I've been able to calculate the ROI, I'm confident that it will sell at a profit, and that I'm going to make money. And even if something happens to the price, my margin is so good that if the price drops a little bit, I'm okay. And I think based on the data, the price might even increase. And so if you can multiply this over and over again, if you can find enough of these products that they're adding up, it's not difficult for you to begin making $100 or $200 a month and adding a little bit of margin to your budget. It really works. And it's not just, I hope this will work because I'm desperate and I'm just throwing out a guess. You're allowing the data to drive you and to inform how you're making decisions. So that's our approach to this, and we really think it works. And if you take a look at the membership below, there is a lot of product research that you can do deep dive. There's tools you can use that do a deep dive. And in the membership, we unpack all of that, and we include you in a community that's trying to do it and working together to overcome obstacles and work through solutions. So check out the link below. Check out the Amazon Arbitrage Mastery membership. And not only that, but you get live coaching every week where you can ask specific questions, personalized questions, and get answers to your situation. So I want to take a look at your questions now, and I want to shift to those. And we've got a lot of time left. And so I'm excited to see what you guys have written here. And I've been talking too much and I haven't kept up with it. So let me look at what you guys have here. Shanika says, how do you know what products need to be pre-approved and how do you get that approval? Well, Rev Seller is kind of nice because it shows you that right up front. Let me show you. So right here, if you have Rev Seller, because this is green and says sell new, I know that I'm able to sell this product. I'm not restricted to sell this product. And so if you have Rev Seller embedded, that's a real easy way to do it. If it's red and that says something like REQ, like request approval, then you know that you're restricted, and then you need to pursue getting approval. If you don't have Rev Seller, when you go to list the item in Amazon Seller Central, you go to catalog and then you select add product. You can type in either the description or the UPC, or you can put in the ASIN. And when you find that product and select it, if you're able to sell, a little orange button will drop down and it just says sell yours with a question mark. And you can sell it in the condition that you're allowed to sell it in. But if that drops down and you see that you don't have the option to sell yours, it'll instead say get approval, I think. And that is an indication that you're gated in that brand or category. You're restricted in some way from selling the product. And the way that you get approval is to develop your sales performance and your account health and your account history so that you have grounds for Amazon giving you greater and greater selling capacity. So what we recommend that you do every time you are confronted with a restriction is click that button that says get approved, and then it takes you to another screen where you need to click the next button, and you basically apply for approval. And one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to be confronted with a screen that asks you to submit documentation like invoices. And when I encounter that screen, I just stop and I say, I can't sell this product. They're not giving me immediate approval. And so I'm not going to chase that, because in arbitrage, I just have receipts from retail stores, and that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for a specific relationship with a supplier or a manufacturer. And so don't try to jump through any hoops of submitting receipts. It's not going to work. But the second thing that sometimes happens when you click to get approval or to request approval is you'll automatically get approved. It'll be an auto approval, and the next page within seconds will say, you've been approved to sell this product based on your seller performance. And so that's why I said, the longer you sell, the more you sell in a category related to that one, or a brand related to that one, and show Amazon that you're a good, faithful seller and your account health is good, they're going to start giving you auto approvals for these. And so what we recommend is that every time you run into that restriction, try it. And eventually, as you grow your business, you'll have more and more opportunities to have those restrictions lifted. Kyle says, if I have a product on Amazon .ca and want to list on .com, do I just add it as an international listing but use my current Canada listing and just send inventory to a fulfillment center in the US? Well, there's a couple ways that you can do that, and I'm trying to remember what it's called, but in North America, you can sell, at least I know I can sell in Canada, US, and Mexican markets, and I can do it all right from the current situation I have with Amazon FBA in the US. And they handle a lot of that. What can come back and get you sometimes is if you're doing FBM and then you run into extreme shipping prices because you have to ship the item. But I know in North America, you can be active in all three of those markets right through your FBA. And I think that's true if you're in Canada and you want to sell in the US. But I guess I don't know for sure because I'm in the US and I know that I can go to Canada. I can sell to Canada or to Mexico. The other option that you would have is to take advantage of a United States prep center and to just get your items in a United States market. And then you would actually be using a US-based fulfillment center, which is what really all our international members are doing. And so I think, Kyle, what I would look for is to see about the, and I'm not remembering what it's called, but the relationship between Canada, the US, and Mexico, the North American market. I think there's a way that you can activate each of those markets from your current situation. And follow up with me at a later time, and I'll double check on that. Elizabeth asks what app I use, and I already mentioned that. I just simply use the Amazon Seller Central app. It's free, and it does everything you need it to do. If you have Inventory Labs, which is a paid membership that can take care of your inventory needs, then you get an app that's free if you have that membership, and it's called Scoutify. And some people prefer Scoutify. I've never used it because I've never been a member of Inventory Labs, but I think the one advantage that Scoutify has is it can be tightly tied into Keepa, and so you can look at Keepa graphs easily when you're using Scoutify right on your cell phone. So that might be an option as well, but I just don't think it's necessary. I think you can use the Amazon Seller Central app and be very successful. I've done it for 5 years, and that's the only app that I've used, and I like that it's free. Salima has a couple questions. Which method do you recommend, buying 3 to 5 items each of a product or buying as many as possible, and why do I recommend that? Well, I think in general, because we're doing arbitrage, we're buying a small quantity of items. So 3 to 5 is kind of where our wheelhouse is in arbitrage. And instead of going deep, we're going wide. And we're selling a lot of different products. And some of that's just driven by the fact that when you find these discount opportunities, you're limited to what is available to you. And so, when I encountered these, I couldn't buy 50 of them. So I wasn't even given the choice. Usually you're only buying 3 to 5 of the item. And it just mitigates some of your risk by going wide instead of going deep. If I bought, what would happen if I bought 50 of these and then there was a problem with the listing, which happens sometimes, or I became restricted, or the price took a dive or something went kind of haywire on it. And now I've put a lot of eggs in that one basket. So in general, I think in arbitrage, people like to do and to recommend going wide and not deep. Now, on a product like this one, it didn't take a ton of research to realize that the BSR on this is super low. And the competition wasn't extremely high. There was one other seller that had 2 in his inventory, so he's going to go pretty quick. And it's clear that you can compete with Amazon in the example of this one because they're deferring the buy box in the current situation. And the margin was so good that I think if I could have bought a lot more of these, I would have at the price. And so, Salima, what I'm doing is I'm letting the quality of the product drive my decision making. So in general, when items are just kind of in the middle of the road, I'm going to hold on to 3 to 5. That's all I'm going to do. Now, sometimes on this side of things, I find a long tail item that seems like it'll take a long time to sell, but maybe has a really good margin, and I'll just buy one, or maybe only one is available. A lot of times when I go to Goodwill, I find like one kind of cool item, and it's kind of a novel item, and it might not sell for 3 to 6 months, but the margin on it's really good. I can buy it for like $3 and sell it for like 45 or $50. And so that's called a long tail item. And I don't want a ton of those because they're going to sell really slow, but I might pull the trigger on one because the margin is so strong. On the other side of the spectrum, is a situation where you might run into what we call a replen, where you have a replenishable product. You can keep buying these at the discounted rate or at a rate that seems discounted compared to Amazon.com. And then, if the BSR is really strong, so you're selling a lot of them and the margin's good, go ahead and buy some more. So I think there's some common sense involved. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at the quality of the product. And if it's an extremely high quality product, it's selling really fast because it has a low BSR and it has the potential to make me a lot of money, then I'm willing to buy a larger quantity. So if it's selling, 2 or 3 a day and I don't have a lot of competition, then why not buy 20 of them and see how it goes. And then maybe if I sell those 20, I'm going to see if there's a way to buy 40 or 50, and just recognize that there's an increased risk there. If something happens to that specific listing, if the price takes a dive, you've got this high quantity that you have to deal with. And then Slim asks, how many products and money did I start with? I've been asked that lots of times and I never know exactly how to answer because I didn't have a set amount of money to start with. And I didn't decide on a set number of products. I just took baby steps. So I knew I had a couple $100 that I could spend. I was nervous about doing it, but nonetheless, I knew that I could absorb that investment. And so I went out and I just bought a few products that cost me around $100. And I'm a little skeptical, so I wanted to watch and see what they would do. And they did well. And I got a payout that helped get me back to zero. And then I went out and I spent a little bit more money, maybe a couple $100. And I did that a few times until I became convinced that I was doing it right, that it was working. I figured out how to use Amazon Seller Central, and then I just slowly increased. So I think by the end of the first month, I had maybe spent, $500 or $600. And I had sold a bunch of product and my inventory was growing. More and more products were still in my inventory. And I didn't do that all at once though, Salima. I didn't just go out and spend $500. I spent some, I got some payback. I spent some more, I got some payback. I reinvested what I was getting back and I could see that it was trending in the right direction. And then months 2 and 3, I got more confident and I spent more like $2,000. And so, and there was some payback. So by the end of like the second month, I hadn't actually made a profit because I had reinvested all my payouts into more inventory, but my inventory had grown substantially and I could tell I was headed in the right direction. And around month 4, there was a tipping point where the profits really started to come in. And then I really got a feel for how it could work. And that's how I started. But I think if you jumped in with a little extra money and you had better education, that's why I wish Just One Dime existed when I started, because if I had been a part of a community, I think I could have moved quicker and with more confidence. And it's another reason why I recommend the membership, because I think you can move forward a lot better and a lot more efficiently if you've got help and you can have your questions answered in a real specific way. And when you run into obstacles, you can get around them and be more confident and not be tempted to quit. Sean Phelps asks, how do I go about customizing, changing my product? For example, a water bottle. Could I do so on Alibaba? Sean, that's a good question, but it's a private label question. And in Arbitrage, we don't do anything to really work on changing product. We find a product that matches the listing, matches a listing that's already got precedent to sell, and we make quick sales. So as soon as you want to customize or change a product, you've got to communicate with a supplier. You could go through Alibaba to get connected to suppliers and manufacturers, and then you just need to work out a relationship where you can make those alterations. But now you've got to go back and create a listing from scratch and get that listing to rank by running PPC campaigns, gaining reviews, that kind of thing. Now you're entirely in the private label world. You need to brand that product, etc. So good question, just not really Arbitrage. Yes, no asks this. How much money did you invest to begin your Amazon business? Is it possible to start with $500? I just answered that question, but absolutely, it's possible to start with $500. I think you can start with less. The answer is I started with $100. I just kept reinvesting that $100 every time I got some back. But $500 would be a great amount to start with. No reason you couldn't make that work and be successful. Let's see. What other questions there are? This just jumped on me. How does one ensure that while doing OA, online arbitrage, the product is not a listing which may conflict with PL or infringement concerns? That's a good question. You want to make sure that the product you're buying matches the listing precisely. So you're not infringing if you take an existing listing that's selling Nike shorts, for example, and you buy a legitimate pair of Nike shorts that match that listing exactly. So you're allowed to use logos and trademarks and copyrighted words so long as they match precisely the product that you're selling and they're an accurate representation of what you're selling. So where you get into trouble is if you make decisions that lack integrity and you decide to sell a product that doesn't match the listing exactly, or if you're just outright selling counterfeit products. And so, you could take a listing that says Nike and you could sell some kind of knockoff under that listing, and then there's going to be a huge problem because Amazon's going to get bad customer feedback. They're going to be offering bad customer service, and they're going to jump on that. And so you want to do a careful job of looking at the listing and making sure that your item matches that listing exactly. And you want to hold on to any invoices you have so that you can demonstrate to Amazon that what you purchased was a legitimate product. Eric in Ohio asks, how do you ship aerosols? Do they require a special case label? Thank you. In my experience, and again, I'm an arbitrage guy, aerosols are marked hazmat. And so you can't send them in FBA. So I don't know if you're asking FBA. I have sold them fulfillment by merchant. So if an item comes up hazmat, if I either buy it mistake and I realize I can't send it in FBA, or sometimes if the margin's really good and I think it's worth doing from my garage, I'll buy the product, put it on the shelf in my garage, and send it out fulfillment by merchant. And you'd have to ask specifically at the post office if you're allowed to ship aerosols. I mean, I know you're allowed to. I'm not exactly sure how to label it. It might just be a matter of, when the lady at the desks asks you if there's any liquid perishable plastic or that sort of thing, mentioning aerosols. But I don't think it's a special case label, but it would be easy for you to find out exactly by contacting the USPS. Richard Kinnison says, I still don't understand how it always says you will make more money using FBA than FBM when you have to pay all the Amazon fees. Well, Richard, my answer to that, well, first of all, you don't always make more money doing FBA. So there are times when you might analyze a situation and decide you would prefer to send the product yourself, fulfilled by you, the merchant, and you can maybe make more money that way. Usually that's the case with small products that you can send first class, because then you can send it anywhere in the country, for the same price, and it's a small price. And so, if you're selling an item for $20 or $30, but it weighs 5 ounces, maybe it's worth doing as FBM. So I don't think we can say, I try to avoid making the blanket statement that FBA is always more lucrative, but I do like the fact that I don't have to ship every product. So even if it's a little less lucrative, I would rather have Amazon do the work for me, because that's what's made it possible for me to scale my business. Now, it does seem that in the vast majority of situations, FBA does save you money. And the reason for that is you don't have to ship the product. I mean, the majority of products like this one that I sell FBA would cost me a ton of money to ship myself. So if I sell this fulfillment by merchant, if I sell it to somebody in New Hampshire, a neighboring state, it's still going to cost me $6 or $7, maybe $8 to ship. Priority and parcel post aren't much different, so I'd probably send a priority, and it would run me at least $6. But if I sell this to a guy in California, now I've got to pay massive amounts of shipping to move this all the way from here in Vermont to California. I mean, it might be $12 or something. This is kind of heavy metal item. So I'm selling a lot of different items, and I think, Richard, the biggest reason is you don't have to pay for individual shipping. And so FBA does charge you for storage. They do charge you for the pick and pack fee. They charge you, what am I forgetting? Well, they charge you for the marketplace fee. But again, in the FBA realm, you still have to pay some Amazon fees. They're not as high, but you still have to pay some because you're still paying the marketing fee to use Amazon.com. It's a little less, but usually the money that you have to pay in shipping is going to make it harder, and you're doing all the work. And the time and energy that you have to put into that work could be profit elsewhere. So that's really my perspective on it, Richard. But again, if you're selling items like our little Superman guy up here, and the margin's really good and you don't mind doing the work, you might just pop those out FBM and make a little extra money. I'm going to try to move a little quicker here. Are specific stores you go to online or in person during Black Friday? I have never really been successful on Black Friday. Part of the reason is I don't want to mess with the crowds and the craziness of it. It just doesn't seem efficient to me. Like, I guess if you decided you wanted to really get a deal on a TV, it might be worth standing in line to get your hands on that TV so that you could save money. But when it comes to arbitrage and trying to find a lot of items at discounted rates, I've never gone out on Black Friday. I just haven't messed around with it. Doesn't mean that you can't find stuff, but my answer to you is no. There aren't specific things that I've done on Black Friday. The only thing I can think of that might be worth doing is trying to prepare ahead of time to know where are there just deep discounts that you could peruse, without dealing with massive lines. Could you go in after the crowd has subsided a bit and still work discounts that maybe go all day long or something like that? But I haven't done that, so I don't really know. Roy Palmer asks, what's FBA? I talked about this at the very beginning, so if you listen to the replay, and by the way, all these Q&As are on YouTube. If you just type in, I don't know, you could type in Eric Abbey, ERICABBEY, and all of the past Q&As will come up and you can watch all those. And so we do this live so that we can answer your questions, but then you can go back and watch this after we're done. So Roy, you could look to the beginning and see what I said, but I'll say quickly, FBA is fulfillment by Amazon. And so Amazon takes care of all the work as opposed to fulfillment by merchant, which would be me, the merchant, doing it myself. So I take all my items. If I buy 100 items for arbitrage, I package them together and ship them off to an Amazon fulfillment center. Amazon receives them, stores them in warehouses, and then when I make a sale, they pick it off the shelf, they pack it, they ship it, they do customer returns, and it just is a really good situation. Richard, that made me think another reason why I like FBA is there's just a lot of customer service that happens that's helpful. So there are times when you get negative feedback from a customer, and that negative feedback gets struck through, and Amazon takes responsibility for it because it was fulfilled by them, and you don't have to be responsible for the negative feedback. I think I garner positive feedback because Amazon's doing it so quickly. Another reason, Richard, that I like FBA, not just that it makes me more money, but because I've talked to a lot of people that say they won't purchase from merchants when merchants are fulfilling them. They want to use their Amazon Prime and they want to see that it's fulfilled by Amazon, but they don't really discern the difference between when Amazon's selling it or when I'm selling it using FBA. And so I think I make more sales. I think I get priority in the buy box. There's a lot of advantages to that. So Roy, that's what FBA is it's allowing Amazon to fulfill all your sales. And I love it because it's what has enabled me to scale my business. I used to sell stuff through eBay, a little bit through Craigslist, and I could make money, but I just couldn't do a large number of products to get to I wanted my margin and my budget to be as strong as possible, and I just ran into a limit. I've always worked full time, and I'm pretty busy, and so when I realized that Amazon can fulfill all that and do the bulk of the work, it allowed me to really scale my business. Let's see, what's Richard say here? Yeah, but having access to millions of shoppers doesn't change the fees. That's true. But I don't think they're not exorbitant. They really aren't. I'm happy for Amazon to do that. MT is correct. It does dramatically increase your chance of making sales. What else does Richard say? Yeah, see, so Richard, you say if you're selling FBM, your return should be higher, not having to pay the Amazon fees. First of all, you still are paying Amazon fees when you do FBM. So you take that into consideration. They're not as high as FBA, but you have to pay to ship every single product, and that's where the difference really can make it. I hope that's helpful, and I'll keep looking to see if Richard follows up here. Can I use my personal Citibank banking card to open an Amazon account? Yeah, I don't see why not. You have to prove, you do have to give information to Amazon. So I don't know if they demand a credit card or if like a bank card would be sufficient. Again, it's been 5 years since I opened my account, and that's where the membership would be helpful, and it would be fun to ask people there, and I could follow up on that. But you can go to Amazon Seller Central and begin to set up your account, and they'll tell you exactly what you need. And my guess is that a banking account card would be sufficient, but it could be that they really want you to have a credit card instead. But if your banking card had, Visa or MasterCard symbol on it or something, it might be sufficient. Guess I don't know exactly how to answer that question. Simon S. Eric, how do you see the future of online and retail arbitrage? I think that's a good question. I'm not a doomsdayer. I think a lot of people say, like the golden age of arbitrage has passed and it's all going to implode in the next 2 months. And I just don't think that's true. First of all, I've been hearing people say that people were saying that when I joined 5 years ago. And I said, well, I want to do this. I'm going to just do it and make it successful. And if it stops, if Amazon shuts down or arbitrage stops working, then so be it. I'll stop making money in that way, and I'll have to redirect my energies. So I started doing it, and every year since, I've heard the doomsdayers say arbitrage is dead, arbitrage is just about to die, arbitrage is probably going to die. Kind of the whole spectrum. And I just have kept chugging, and I keep finding stuff. I keep finding products that make me money, and some weeks are better than others. Some months are better than others. Sometimes I find great opportunities. Sometimes I find duds. Sometimes I make mistakes. There's all kinds of ups and downs, but in general, I have just seen ongoing success with arbitrage, and there's no reason for me to think it's going to stop. Amazon continues to grow, and third-party sellers continue to prosper. And I do think there's some obstacles. Amazon's really trying to figure out this infringement, the IP complaint thing, and people are getting suspended, and there's chaos involved in all that. But none of that really smells to me like arbitrage is gonna die. So, Simon, I think it's good. I think the future is good, and I'm excited to continue to do it. And if I start making less and less money with arbitrage, I'll start thinking more and more about other ways that I can cause my business to move forward. And maybe there's always course corrections. You have to do that with Amazon. So some of it's learning how Amazon works. And every time you're given an obstacle, you have a choice to either work to get past that obstacle or to quit. And in my opinion, a lot of people quit. And so if you make it over that obstacle, you're even in a better place. And someday that obstacle might be arbitrage isn't working. I need to figure something else out. Or Amazon has decreased and there's another platform that's better, and I'll try to make an adjustment accordingly. But in the meantime, I've been doing arbitrage for 5 years, and it has worked wonderfully. And I wouldn't promote our membership and say start doing arbitrage if I thought the future was bleak. So I just think it's a great future, and I'm just going to keep working with it. How do you calculate BSR? Is 1% without Rev Seller Schema? That's really hard. You have to figure out how many items are in that specific category, and that's a bit of data that I haven't been able to figure out to see Amazon publish, and it's constantly changing and growing. So I don't know the answer to that. Rev Seller is only $99 a year. It's really pretty cheap in a month-to-month basis. I would just purchase Rev Seller, but that's not a very satisfying answer. Do I shop clearance when I'm online? Absolutely. It's the first place I go. When I go to a website, I go to the clearance section of the website. The same way When I'm in a retail store, I go to the clearance section of the retail store. What else we got? Still arguing about FBA versus FPM. I think that's a good discussion. Keep the discussion kind and try not to get snarky with each other. But I think, I think you need to figure out what works for you and what you're selling best. My hands down experience is that FBA is a way better situation than FBM for the reasons I explained. I think I can make more money that way, and it just saves me a ton of time and energy. But there are certain products that you can do FBM, and that's a better situation. And maybe you have more time and prefer to do FBM and can make a little extra money that way. That's fine. Or maybe you don't care about scaling. You guys are all in different situations from each other and from me. And so the cool thing about selling on Amazon is you can really tailor it in a personal way to make it fit with you. So MT, I think you're right. There are pros and cons to both. And I'm certainly not saying this is the way you've got to do it. I can only speak from my experience, and FBA has been great because I can sell. Sometimes I sell 1,400 or 1,500 items a month, and Amazon's done all the work. Or, I go on vacation for a week and my items keep selling, and I'm not at home. I can't do any FBM items. So, but all the items I've put in my inventory, they just keep chugging along. So that's my experience, is that FBA is great. But I know people that do a lot more FBM. And so I'm not trying to, be hard-nosed about it by any means, but that's just my experience. Mark Kimball says that Amazon requires a credit card. And that does sound right to me, Mark. I think that is right. So I guess I'll back up and say the bank card probably is not sufficient. But goodness, credit cards are easy to come by these days. If you use them wisely, they can really be an asset to your business. When I purchase this item for Arbitrage, I've got a nice little window. I don't actually have to pay for it for like another 30 days. I kind of like that. And I also get 1% cash back on all my purchases with my business credit card. And so I get a nice little cash bonus for all my arbitraging. There's advantages to using credit. You just need to use it wisely and not be foolish about it. Jonas, is it a good idea to buy a small quantity of a product to test the market before bigger investment? Yes, absolutely. So I do that with arbitrage all the time. If I see an item, if I think I have one chance to jump on 40 items that to me have a really good BSR and a really strong ROI, there have been times when I've jumped on those 40 items. One time I bought like 40 or 50 scooters from Kmart. Kmart was going out of business. They were these big scooters, and my dad was with me, and we just piled them on top of shopping carts and took them out to the minivan. And it was absolute chaos, but they were such a good deal. The price was so low, the BSR was so good, and I knew this is a going out of business sale. Those things are going to evaporate and go quick. So I pounced on it, and it was an example of where I bought a ton. I think I bought 40 or 50 of them, and they all sold and made me good money. It was great. But yeah, a lot of times with a replenishable product or a product that I think I might be able to regularly sell, and maybe it's kind of a middle of the road product, I'll buy 4 or 6 and I'll send them in quick and watch and see what they do. And if they all sell quickly, then I'm more confident to go back and buy maybe 20 or 30. So Jonas, that's a good way to think when it comes to that kind of thing. What percentage do you still reinvest into products? I've never asked that question as far as percentage. Usually I'm looking for opportunities, and I'm jumping on opportunities that I think are really good. And I don't want to overextend my spending so that I'm outspending my revenue and I don't have any money. And yet, if I've got the capital to do it, I want to jump on every opportunity possible. But I don't have like a built-in percentage where I say this much I'm going to reinvest, this much I'm going to draw out. I pay myself a certain amount, but that's based on what I need to pay my mortgage and to take care of my family. And I've kind of just, over time, I've felt that out. And so I pay myself that, and then the business generates income beyond what my paycheck is. Grab a drink. For the clearance products, do we have to look up only the new products? How do we know if the product is qualifies for new? Yeah, I only deal with new products, so I avoid anything that even smells like a return or the box is opened. I want to sell an item that I know is brand new, that I'm convinced is brand new, and is going to be received by the customer with no doubt in their mind that it's new. And so, yes, I'm only looking at new products. I'm making sure they're new. I just don't really have any exceptions to that. Unless you happen on some collectible item in a kind of a niche market that you know really well, my recommendation would be to deal in new conditioned products. So how many vacations have you taken so far? Yes, no asks. Sorry for the question, but we were already excited to start. I don't know that I've taken a ton of vacations. I'm not actually a huge vacation guy, but I like to spend time with family. So, I mean, we've done a fair amount of traveling so we don't live near either set. My parents nor my wife's parents, they don't live in Vermont. And so in order to get the kids to see grandma and grandpa, we have to travel, but we also have to load up four kids under the age of 8 in a minivan. So that sometimes gives us pause, but we spend a lot of time traveling. We like to travel for the holidays. And I like that, when I go to my parents' house for Thanksgiving in a couple of weeks, all my FBA items will be there, available for sale, even when I leave. So that's what I like about it. I do have in January a trip scheduled to the Bahamas to celebrate our 10th anniversary, and I'm really excited about that. So as long as you asked, we've got that trip planned, and I'm really looking forward to it. And again, it's really nice to have a little room in your budget so that we could take that trip. It's all paid for, and I'm really excited. Vermont gets cold, and so January, it's going to be pretty ugly cold up here. It's 27 degrees today. So in January, it's going to be cold, and I want to get out and go to the Caribbean. My wife and we've never been to the Caribbean, so we're going to do that, and I'm looking forward to doing that. And I have, I keep checking off goals. I said at the beginning of the program, get out of debt was a goal. Buy a new car for the family was a goal. It wasn't a new car, but a dependable car, check. And the biggie that I really was shooting for was to buy a house, which a little over a year ago I was able to do, check. Then the next goal was to make a career change. So I gave up a better paying job and took a lesser paying job that was really in line with my convictions. And so now I'm the pastor at a church here, and I'm doing the Christian ministry that I've really wanted to do for a long time, and selling on Amazon's enabled me to do that. And one of the goals that is still yet in the future is being able to take my kids and my family to Disney, which I know is brutal expensive, and we're not there yet. But my kids aren't quite old enough yet either. So that's a goal that I have, and I'm hoping I can follow through on that goal and check that one off. Richard, you don't need to apologize for getting snarky. It's tricky communication is hard in this realm. I'm trying to read questions, and hopefully what I said was helpful. Salima, you're welcome. And I'm going to wrap up here. Jonas has got a couple of questions about products like Chinese-made products in the range of 20 to 30 euros. Again, I don't deal with China. That's a private label thing. I agree with what was just said. Never use Chinese products in arbitrage. It's just not a good path to go. If you want to pursue private label, Chinese suppliers can be really good at finding a product, customizing that product, but you have to brand it yourself. And the private label membership link is below. If you want to go in that direction, it's called FBA Mastery. It's an awesome membership, and people are making really good money doing private label work. So arbitrage is certainly not the only game in town. It's only one lane in how you can sell on Amazon, but it's one that's worked for me and that I like, and that we're promoting during this hour. So check out the memberships below, check out the links, look at the past replays, go out there and find information, but don't just sit and watch YouTube. Go out there and get started, get involved in Amazon Seller Central, buy some products, start adding margin to your budget. I'm telling you, the freedom to do the things that you want to do and to really be able to move your convictions forward is awesome. And it's worth the effort, it's worth the risk. And hopefully our program today was helpful for you, seeing that you can make calculated decisions that are confidently based in numbers, and you can make money. Arbitrage is alive and well, and as long as it is, let's crush it. Let's hustle, put in some work, and make it happen. So guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you for the good questions. Thank you for the great interaction. I really enjoy doing this. I really wish you the best. Man, if I could give freedom to you in your budget the way that I've been able to experience, I would do it. I would throw those good vibes at you and make it happen, but I can't. So I'm trying to be as helpful as I can. From the bottom of my heart, I promote Just One Dime with no shame, because it's been super helpful to me. And I wish you guys the best of luck. So go out there and crush it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and tune in next week. I'll be right here, noon Central Standard Time, next Saturday. Thanks, guys.